prescription for transformation. Let's tap into your own authentic genius and live the life you desire.
Are now listening to
Join Dr. Rademaker for an enlightened conversation about our brain intelligence, our body intelligence, and our energy intelligence. And now, here's your host, Dr. Bart Rademaker.
Well, I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is a prescription for your transformation. Real people, real conversations, and real success. And one of the things that is critically important to me in all the things that I get to do is really talking to these amazing individuals around the globe that have actually something really unique to share with us. And that uniqueness allows us to make a transformation in our life that's really also important to us as well. But one of the things that I've really discovered over time, and coming from a background of 17 years of medical training, realizing that with this immense amount of information that I gathered over the years, and with the idea that, with all of that, we shouldn't have all the answers. But the truth was, I didn't have those answers, and I didn't know it. Unfortunately, Providence prevailed, and I was introduced to the whole concept of personal development. That's kind of a swear word for some people in life. But the point is, what I really noticed more than anything else is that here's an intelligent person who gets to learn a lot of things, to help and support people's lives, in fact transform them in a very dramatic and fundamental way, is also missing out on some key knowledge. And that's what happened to me, and I came to that realization is that what you don't know that makes the difference. And that's the whole idea of this platform. Prescription for your transformation. It's about tapping into your own authentic genius and designing the life that you desire. And so an important element that many of us get to enjoy in our lives are those little creatures that we call pets. Dogs, cats, and whatever your fancy then desires. I'm not one for snakes and that kind of stuff, but dogs, and I've come to adore the dog that I now have. My other dog, my Doberman Pinscher called Punch, God rest his soul, from many, many years ago, has been replaced by this absolutely cute standard poodle, and I never thought I was going to have a poodle. But here's what's really relevant and really important for us, is that as I've developed this beautiful, mature, adult connection with this dog, I'm finding that there is this connection. It's very, very deep, and it's love, and it's a wonderful place to be with this other being. But what happens when these beings get ill? And our dog is about, standard poodle, he's about 15, 16, maybe 17 years old. And, I have the blessing to be married to a person that has taken absolutely wonderful care. In fact, she treats the dog better than me sometimes. But how are you treating your dogs? And what happens when they get ill? What do you do for them? And so that's what this is about. And I'm so delighted to be talking to one of those amazing and unique individuals with an immense heart that really is giving us and our pets, not only dogs but cats, an opportunity to have a much better quality of life, much better longevity, and the opportunity to have a longer experience. So, Robert Sheen, thank you so much. And you're part of, you've created this company called Buddy Custard. I love the name, and the name in itself already makes a transformation in all of us. And whether you want to believe that part or not, it is absolutely true. But I want to hear your story, first of all. But tell me first, in a few words, what Buddy Custard is all about, and then I want to go back to the history, how it came about, and what is it that really Buddy Custard gets to do.
Okay, well, and thank you very much for allowing me to be on this podcast. It's my first, and so I must tell you that if I'm a little bit nervous or don't look so good, I'm sorry, but anyway. But let me give you a little bit of Buddy Custard is a company that we we formed about 3 years ago, came off of a life-changing event that I experienced personally. My wife and I got cancer many years ago, and I discovered an old technology and put it to use, and now we're manufacturing and distributing as an e-commerce company, Buddy Custard, into the marketplace. Actually, it's so amazing because the timing of this podcast is because we just began distribution, and it's been a process of testing, not just on the products, but on the logistics of actually being able to take our product and bring it to a person's door, and to help their dogs. So anyway, long and short, we're a company that is out of Florida. We are distributing our products to the lower 48 as an e-commerce company.
But what is the product though? What does it specifically do?
Yeah, the product is Buddy Custard. It is we call it custard because it's a frozen dairy combination with some fats that make a wonderful, wonderful combination together, and I'll explain that a little bit further how that came about. But it's a combination, it's a food product that you add to the dog's diet on a daily basis with every meal. Just take a scoop or two out, add it to the dog's food. They love the taste. And it's bringing some extremely healthy fats in a very proprietary blend and technique that we use to manufacture, and helping the dog's diet. So particularly if those that are ill or those that are bound to become ill, which is most dogs, unfortunately, the dogs are having a lot of problems with health these days.
So basically, it's a dog food supplement. I mean,
it's a dog food supplement. Yes.
Right. So let me stop you there for a moment, Robert.
Yeah.
Because what's interesting is that the whole wellness industry, has expanded, has exploded over the last 10, 15 years. In fact,
Yes.
it's the new wellness revolution, and I'm so excited really that it's expanded towards our canine and feline friends and pets and family members, because when you really think about it, our dogs and our cats, they're really an essential part to our own health and wellness.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that so often people just simply take that for granted and have really kind of discounted the need to really properly attend to the dogs and cats. And so in addition to that, and again, I'm no expert on this, of course, but the kinds of foods that are currently available for our dogs and cats perhaps are not the most ideal. And so, again, you bringing up a supplement with that, and I love the idea that it's a custard, because that sounds really awesome. Is it sweet as well?
It tastes great. I have it every day for the last 16 years.
Is that right? Whoa.
Yeah. Oh yeah, every day. The product that we are giving to dogs is a human grade combination of ingredients that tastes really good. We sweeten it all naturally with organic stevia. The other products part of this blend are cottage cheese, organic flaxseed oil, and then we use some peanut butter powder, which is also organic, by the way. And when you combine these in a very specific way, the dogs just love it. They lap it up. They rather eat the food of Buddy Custard than their own food. They must know something that we don't know.
But you mix it up with their regular food, is that right? Or you get it separately?
That's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Just take out your dog's food, add this in, they'll gobble it up in a moment. It tastes really good. It's sweet, and dogs love the flavor of peanut butter, and they just can't resist it, and it's good for them.
I remember a time I used to love giving my dog peanut butter, but not for any health reasons. I just love the fact that he would go nuts licking the top of his palate, forever, for an hour, because he couldn't get the peanut butter off his palate.
If you had to give your dog a pill, always use peanut butter because they would have to swallow it because they'd be looking at that cow. You're right.
Well, actually, I give my dog pills, but I put it in cream cheese.
Cream cheese works really well. Yep.
So what is it about the custard itself that really is healthy? And I like what you shared with me earlier on, and you have this holistic approach, and I think that's really important because I think there's a general awareness coming along in our culture and many other countries as well, is that yes, medicine is very important for us, or the medical approach is really important to us, but it doesn't necessarily have all the answers. And in fact, it can prevent, the holistic approach can absolutely prevent us needing to go to a doctor. And so you're doing the same thing with your dog. So what is the holistic part in this that helps the dogs be healthier?
A great question. The key ingredient is flaxseed oil. What all the studies that have been out there for the last 20, 30 years showing the benefits, not just for humans, but for canines, cats, for all animals, horses that are having a lot of health issues as well. Flaxseed oil has the ability to help the body rebuild cells, which ultimately helps the body carry oxygen, which creates a wellness in the dog. What's unique about Buddy Custard is that we have copied the technology that was developed many, many years ago, and by the technique that was developed, we creating a water-soluble unification of both the cottage cheese and the flaxseed oil, that when ingested, it actually affects every cell of the body because we've created a water-soluble substance. So just drinking flaxseed oil, if you could bear it, won't do anything. It's in and out. But by combining it with the cottage cheese in this unique proprietary methodology, it works and infiltrates the cells of the body. In my own case, we were stunned at how quickly it worked. And the studies for years have been showing that this combination, but it has to be done in this very unique and specific methodology, manufacturing methodology, works. I want to come back to the one point though in the beginning, because I actually really love animals and I love dogs. It's a passion, and I never had one as a kid. And maybe I'm compensating for that later in life. But we had a golden retriever that passed away about 4 years ago. And what this dog taught my wife and myself was how to change human thinking, how to make people feel good. And I became a hospice worker with her for 9 years. I got it certified. And we would visit homes, nursing homes every weekend. And we'd work with people that were about to pass. And when they would see my dog Jessie walk into the room, their eyes lit up. And these are many people that were very old and very fragile, and she's a big dog, 60, 70 pounds. And they just never had a fear. They just wanted to interact. They wanted to interface with her. They wanted to be with her. They wanted to hug her and kiss her. And she was, as all Goldens are, just gentle and kind and sweet. So I saw this over the period of years, the healing effect that she had on so many people. Bereavement camps for children. And it really taught me how important dogs are and that we need to take care of these animals. They're very special. They're here for a reason. And man's best friend, as they say. So Jessie taught us this lesson a long time ago. And when we got into developing Buddy Custard, it came about through actually giving Jessie Buddy Custard because she developed mammary cancer. And we wanted to do something that, obviously, to help her. And I tell you what, we learned a strong lesson from that, is that she did great for 2.5 years, where she should have been gone and limping around or dying. We never gave her conventional treatment. She just ate that Buddy Custard, she loved it, and she was a healthy, playful dog, And she lived till she was almost 13 years old. And that taught us a lesson, and our veterinarians were quite amazed as well as to how well she did.
Wow.
Additionally, we worked with other dogs within our own home that we took in that were quite ill, and in a matter of weeks we saw a turnaround. So back to what happens with buddy custard, the technology is unique in that it was developed about 60, 70 years ago by a biochemist out of Germany who was treating mostly cancer patients, but as well those with other diseases such as diabetes and whatnot. And she, in her experiments as a biochemist, she was the head of the German FDA actually in the 1950s.
Right.
And she was the foremost cancer person in those days, nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize 7 times. And what she found out is that rather than trying to kill diseases, let the body try to get rid of those diseases holistically, naturally. And it worked for me. And that's what really inspired me. So Buddy Custard took that same technology, and we were able to figure out by the proper amounts and using experiments with many, many individuals and their dogs, the right amounts to give people and dogs. And I tell you what, we were stunned. Never mind my own case. We were stunned at the results. So we're quite excited about this combination of, it's very simple, and it's only 4 ingredients. In fact, the original blend, which we sell as well, is just as 2 ingredients, cottage cheese and flaxseed oil. Because some people don't like the taste of peanut butter.
So I have 2 questions, and
Yes.
and so the first question is, how was it that you came into this knowledge and this awareness, and then so I'd like to hear the background story of that, and also importantly, what was the actual turning point or pivot point or inspiration to say, you know what, I'm going to use this in dogs. So let's start off with your story, because I think it's quite remarkable what you were able to do, and then how did that then transmute into, I got a product for dogs.
Okay. So 16 years ago, I had some lumps behind my ears, and went to the doctors, and they did the biopsy, the whole thing, and they said, you have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I was stunned, of course, like anybody would be. In fact, the first question I asked the doctor was, as most people would, is how long do I have? And he looked at me, and he was an ear, nose, and throat specialist, so he wasn't a specialist in cancer and oncology. And he said, look, he says, I don't know. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know? You're the doctor. So at that point, I knew that, I was going to have a challenge figuring this out. And I was a pretty athletic guy. I eat very healthy, and I was really taken back by this. I was so upset about it. I thought my life was over. 16 years ago, I was pretty young.
Right.
Anyway, what happened was that in a search to not go conventional, because I wasn't happy with the numbers that I saw. The protocol on non-Hodgkin's is chemotherapy. So my oncologist finally said to me, he said, well, if we do chemo, I said, what's the stats? How long? He says, with chemo, you'll go 7 years, 8 years, if we're lucky. He says, I said, and without? He says, well, probably 5, 6, maybe 7 years. And I said, well, I'm going to do some exploring. And I took a very, very conservative approach, and my oncologist was just terrific. He took an approach of, let's just wait and see what happens with this lymphoma. And for a couple of years, I was able to just not do anything other than eat healthy, exercise a lot. But then about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, the cancer got very aggressive. And I was in a lot of discomfort, a lot of pain. Went for a couple of opinions from oncologists, and they all said, you've waited long enough, it's time to go conventional, we'll get you some chemo, maybe some radiation, and so on and so forth. I still something was bugging me about it, that it just told me that this is just not, there must be something better. And one day I was just talking to a friend of mine who happens to be a minister, nothing to do with religion,
Right.
And he was saying, why don't you try this thing at this Dr. Budwig, which is very similar to name Buddy Custard, but not by design at all. This Dr. Budwig developed many, many years ago, and he says it's a combination of cottage cheese and flaxseed oil. He says, and I know a lot of people have been using it, and it's great. It really works. So I went home and as a skeptic, because I was getting, every day I was getting, try salamander oil, try this, try that, blood from this, go to Cuba, get that. And I was getting, everybody came up with a great idea, but I went home and I started to study this Dr. Budwig, and she had credentials, and she did this for a long time, and I said, yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. So I did, and I have to tell you, I had a tumor behind my right ear that was the size of a lemon, and I was in so much pain that they were prescribing painkillers. Never took one. In 3 days, the throbbing pain in that parotid gland that was completely encapsulated with cancer started to recede. And it really took me by surprise. 3 days. I called up my oncologist. I said, I better come back, see you. Something's wrong here. I figured that maybe it's metastasized. Now it gets small because it's all over my body. I don't know. Anyway, what happens is that within 3 months, the cancer was completely gone. He watched the tumor shrink. This is a great oncologist right out of Moffitt in Tampa. And now he was with Holy Cross. And I would see him every few weeks in the beginning, and then every few months. And my blood work went normal completely. The cancer melted. They even went to a point where they interviewed me over at Holy Cross with a team of internists and medical students to find out what happened.
Did they believe you?
That was the key thing right then and there that really stuck out, that got me very interested. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
So did they believe you?
I think my oncologist believed me, because he would lean over and he whispered me, and I won't give his name because he's a great guy. And he'd lean over and whisper to me, he says, I don't know what you're doing. I don't believe necessarily what you're doing works. He says, but at this point in time, I would just keep doing whatever you're doing. And he said, but you didn't hear that from me. And I said, why? Why are you hiding that? And I said, I'm sure you get a lot of patients that don't want to go conventional, and they don't want to have the fallout from chemotherapy. We all know how bad that is. And he says, if we're not taught it in our medical books, we'd rather not get into it.
So what did you exactly take? What exactly were you consuming at that point?
What was that? I'm sorry.
What were you ingesting? What were you taking in?
I was having, of the Buddy Custard formula, I was having about 20 to 24 tablespoons a day. I made it myself in the house. There was no Buddy Custard at the time. There was no company making it.
So it was just what, flaxseed and cream cheese?
And cottage cheese.
Or cottage cheese.
And to make it, it had to be done in a very specific way, using something called an immersion mixer. And what it did was, there are certain sulfates that cottage cheese contain. In Europe, it's called quark. And what they do is they combine with the flaxseed oil to make a water-soluble substance that allegedly, and there's never been a clinical study, it just works. Thousands of people, 26,000 people on the blog, the Cottage Seed Flaxseed Oil blog, for 60 years talking about their successes with this. So I made it myself, and it tasted pretty darn good. And I had it every day in the morning, and then in the evening when I got home from work, mixing in the morning with some berries or something, good antioxidants. And then in the evening, I'd maybe mix some peanut butter with it or cocoa powder. I liked the taste. It was like getting ice cream. I was off ice cream. You can't eat ice cream if you have cancer. And that sugar was a killer. So I mixed it with stevia. I made it just the way it was supposed to be made, the way Dr. Budwig recommended, and it worked miraculously. As a result of that, I got very curious about this whole thing, and I studied more about her, and I saw that there was this doctor, and I saw there's a very big following. Many doctors have used this protocol here in the United States for many patients of many different diseases. one in particular is a Dr. Ream in Broward County that used this. He's a cardiologist, and he used it for years. He wrote a newsletter about how potent this was. The flaxseed oil, being a blood thinner, helped the blood flow through the body. So anyway, it worked for me, and then I was starting to get calls from people saying, I heard about your relatives and whatnot, what are you doing? Maybe I want to do this myself. The word started to spread. People were calling me pretty much every week, and I just, not to make money, I just would tell them what to do and how to do it. I would go to their homes, and I'd make it for them and leave with a batch and say, here's a gift, good luck. And for the people that followed through and followed it exactly the way I did, exactly, organic cottage cheese, organic flaxseed oil, in the proportions that it's supposed to be, the ratios that it's supposed to be, I was seeing incredible results.
Wow.
And that's where it came from, my own personal experience, and seeing that there is, and reading the blogs and seeing other people attesting of the potency of this protocol got me very excited. Not as a money thing, but just to help people out. And then the dogs started coming into my life.
Well, before we go to the docs, curious. Yeah. I mean, you're talking about all these people, thousands of people on the blog.
Yeah.
And was it strictly cancer conditions that people were responding
primarily,
to? Or?
Yes. Primarily, yes.
And what's that process again? So for listeners can hear it again, the process to make it soluble, the cottage cheese and the flaxseed. There's a certain way to mix it. You say, what's that called?
Yes, you're using a device called an immersion mixer.
Immersion mixer. Okay, and that's something that people can just buy?
Yeah, Target, Walmart.
Wow. So you've treated a whole bunch of people that doctors couldn't save.
Yes.
How does that feel?
Well, it was amazing. It was amazing. I was a pre-med student in college.
Okay.
And I just couldn't get into med school. It was during the Vietnam War, and it was tough to get into med school during the Vietnam War.
So you picked the next best thing, and that's become an attorney, right?
I think the best thing. Because I didn't have to go to medical school for 8 years.
Oh, there you go. So maybe you're right on that
what
one.
What it came down to is, at that point in time in my life, I was ready for some changes, and I was ready for a challenge. And listen, it saved my life. If it didn't happen so rapidly, and if so many doctors that I went to didn't say, "Wow,"
right.
I would just think maybe it was a fluke, but it was no fluke. It really worked. It worked for many people. And so you combine these ingredients in this very specific way, in very specific portions, and you have to have a lot of it every day. It doesn't replace a meal, although it can. But when I was at the peak of taking it, I'm just on a maintenance. I have it every day now for breakfast. But it's about 1,000 calories that I was having a day just of this combination.
Oh, wow.
And I was losing weight at the same time because I was eating a lot of very healthy fats, and I was with no carbohydrates. So at the same time, I was getting in better shape, getting more active, and I'm very active. I mean, I'm on a bicycle every day. I'm on a Harley every weekend. I rode 260 miles this past weekend. I do it every weekend.
Nice.
And I came alive again, and I believe it has to do with Buddy Custom.
So you weren't that guy that cut me off the other day, right? On your bike.
Was that you?
I'm on the other side.
Actually, I wasn't that far from where you were. I actually took you out to Lake Placid on Saturday from Delray Beach. So that was about 150 miles or so each way.
Well, actually, I was on the other coast, but not on the other coast of Florida. I was on the other coast of the U.S. I was actually in California, so it wasn't me.
Okay.
But that's pretty amazing, and what I find surprising is how effective a treatment like this really is, and how so many people are just simply not aware of it. But in the way that you described it, it sounds a heck of a lot like the keto diet. Would you agree?
Yes and no. It is from the standpoint of low carbohydrate, high good fats, and high protein, absolutely. But you have to understand it's that getting that flaxseed oil to rebuild a cancer cell, to getting back that cancer cell to its health so it dies naturally, is what Dr. Budwig developed.
Right.
And that's the secret, or that's the miracle of it. It's rebuilding the cell back to health so the electrons can again begin carrying red blood cells through the body and feeding the body properly. You know, cancer just multiplies and multiplies, and it'll thrive on carbon dioxide. It'll thrive on anything.
Right.
So what we do is we give that cancer cell the opportunity to get back to health, die naturally, and then hopefully the person doesn't go back to their old horrible habits. They stay on it, which like I am now for 11 years. They stay on it every day. When I travel, I make sure that I can get the ingredients that I need to make.
Right.
Or I'll ship it.
So just to recap, so you had the lymphoma for 10 years, refusing chemotherapy, and then kind of as a last resort realizing, or found this, and instantly had results, and now you've been cancer free. Is that correct?
Totally correct.
Wow, that's amazing. That's something for the books. And
It is.
My hope is that people listening to this, forget the dogs and the cats, right? Let's take care of ourselves. But truly, I mean, not only for cancer, but for everything else. And so it's simply interesting that here's such a simplified way. I'm sure an immersion mixer doesn't cost that much. And hopefully people will reach out to you personally and again, once again, finding out what they could potentially do for themselves or their loved ones. Because
I hope that occurs. I really spared no amount of time making sure that if somebody called me or sent me an email, articles were written about us in Miami magazines. I spared no time trying to offer this to people. Listen, I'm not a doctor. This is not an approved FDA pharmaceutical.
Right.
But what it does, it worked. And it worked for me, and it worked for many, many others, some that I helped. And I have to tell you, the ones that it didn't work for, which was rare, were the people that went off it, the people that were doing their own thing. Well, I had some flaxseed oil this morning. I said, but then you missed the whole thing. I would take about 3 hours at everybody's house, painfully going through making it for them, bringing my own equipment, bowls, cottage cheese, flaxseed oil, and I'd bring it and I'd sit there in front of it, and then a week later, they'd call me up and say, how you doing? Oh, yeah, well, I gotta get to Whole Foods and I gotta buy some oil. And I gotta get back and I gotta do this. And by the way, can I use Breakstone cottage cheese? He said, well, that's not organic. And I told you organic. So I saw there that there may be an opportunity to make it for people so there's no mistake. And that started me thinking about 5-6 years ago, myself and my wife, that maybe we need to make this for people, and so they don't have to think. They just get it, open it, eat it, and go on their way. That's the American way of doing things. Make it for me.
Right.
And they always made it wrong. It was amazing. And the people that did it the right way, they have been very successful with their health.
So you decided not to make it for people. You decided to make it for dogs.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, it came out in a couple of ways. Number one is that we were getting requests from people who were saying, does it work for dogs? So I went and I studied on the internet some writings, some studies that were done by Budwig and the Budwig Institute in Germany and one in Spain, and people were feeding it to their dogs with great success. Again, for the same problems, and that I had, and and then of course, then you have my love of dogs. I actually founded a 501c3 dog rescue many years ago in Oakland Park.
Oh, sweet, yeah.
And we were feeding it to some of the dogs there that were very ill, and they were coming alive. when a dog is about to die, they all have a very similar characteristic. They hide, they sleep, they don't want to eat, they don't want to poop, they don't want to pee, they don't want to move. And what happens, we started feeding Buddy Custard to dogs that I was just making in my house, and they'd start playing fetch, they'd start jumping around, they would just, amazing. You know how great it felt for me when I get a person. I remember this one particular couple, an elderly couple that had a white lab, and the dog was about to die, and from a lot of problems, organs were failing. And then they called me up, my wife up as well, and they put us on a speaker. They said in 2 days, they said the dog is playing fetch, eating his food, running around the house. They said, this is incredible. This can't be real. And that's the hardest thing, the biggest challenge that Buddy Custard has, is getting people to believe that this really works. So me being the poster child is not a bad thing. And then we had our personal experiences in our own home with this Jessie dog that we wound up giving Buddy Custard, and we got an extra almost 3 years out of her. She died when she was almost 13, and that's pretty old for a golden. We took in a dog from an animal rescue called Dee Dee, actually on our website. There's a video of Dee Dee jumping up and down to get at her Buddy Custard. Dee Dee was being euthanized the next day that we took her in our house. They had already taken off her tail and a piece of her kidney to get the cancer gone. The vets didn't want to put any more money into her because this is an animal rescue. There's no money for that. We took her in, and in 6 weeks she went completely cancer-free. And she's gone now, but she got adopted to a lovely couple, and they just love this dog, and they got a couple of years out of her, 2 or 3 more years out of her. And that was the biggest shock that we saw within our own premises. We see this dog go. When we took her back to the vet, we had the medical records. The vet said, this can't be real. You know, what did you do? And you know, we told them what we did, and they said, that's great. And some veterinarians, most veterinarians, do understand the benefits of flaxseed oil. What they don't get is that just taking flaxseed oil capsules doesn't work. They just pee it out. So that's the big thing that we have going for us, is we combine it in a way that it actually does affect them. So we got very inspired in our own personal situation with myself and 2 dogs.
So all these stories that you're sharing with me, people can see that on your website, buddycustard.com, right?
Yes, they will see that on buddycustard.com. We put up the stories, we put up pictures. I'm on there telling my story just as I am now, and testimonials are up there from folks. So we're just now on a launching and to commercialize this as an e-commerce company, and I think it's very exciting for us. Hope it works. I hope people pick it up and run with it, because you got nothing to lose. It's a healthy ingredient to the dog's diet.
Well, I certainly will be doing that. My dog is on the older side, so you got these. So it's like half a tablespoon for 10 pounds of a dog, right? Is that
for a healthy dog? Yeah, for a healthy dog, that's what we recommend. For a dog that has health challenges, we recommend they go at least 1 tablespoon for every 10 pounds, and more. We eat 2 tablespoons, they're not going to hurt either. They love the taste of it, and it's okay. We just, that's when we did our own work and studies. That's how much food we give. We have a dog in our house now that you'll see on our website. You'll see Catherine on our video. Boo Boo, who's sitting here right now, she's sleeping. And Boo Boo 3 years ago got diagnosed with mammary cancer. We turned down treatment again. We put her on Buddy Custard, a tablespoon or 2 a day. She's a 10-pound, 11-pound Havanese, great dog. And it's been 3 years, and she's just gone and plays and is having a great life. Most people don't believe she's 11 years old.
Wow.
So again, here's living proof right in my own home. Never mind all the folks that we help outside of the house. So we got very inspired for that.
So I remember this one movie where somebody, I forget the movie what it was, but one of the actors was eating dog food. So it didn't look very appetizing to eat regular dog food. I mean, at least in my opinion. In fact, I was thinking about that today when I was feeding my dog. I said, nah, I don't think I'm going to like that. But this, as I watched this video, I mean, that custard looks yummy.
It is, and it's exactly what I eat every day. And everybody that went on the Budwig protocol for 60 years, we all eat the same thing. We're like a cult. It's delicious. I mean, it tastes like eating cheesecake, and we love it. And the dogs, they jump in the air, they go crazy over it. They just can't wait to get at it. So as a treat, it works as well.
Mm-hmm.
For a dog that is healthy, such as your dog, you should absolutely have your dog on buddy custard. In particular, because the dog is getting older and older.
Right.
And now is the time. 74% of dogs after the age of 10 are coming down with cancer.
Wow.
1 out of 4 dogs is getting heart disease. Diabetes is rampant in dogs. Arthritis is really, really, really horrible in dogs. And buddy custard seems to have that effect of an anti-inflammatory for those other ailments as well.
Right.
Now, we're not going to make any silly claims, and we're not going to claim to anybody and guarantee anything. We're not a medical company. This is a nutraceutical. Give it a try. It works. That's our creed, our motto.
Well, to be honest, I mean, I can say this, very, very comfortably, being, the physician who wholeheartedly believes that, we can harness the potential of the body to restore form and function. And it's just a matter of, okay, what are the ingredients of a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah.
And besides, working out and sleeping and minimizing stress and those kinds of things, clearly our nutrition is key. And I think the reason a lot of people can actually get sick, everything combined, of course, is also, what are you feeding yourself? And even the ancient Greeks have said, you are what you eat. And that's incredibly true there. And I see your dog, by the way. It's cute on the video here. And your lovely wife, too. So, so I absolutely believe, that it's fair to say, and I know you're not going to say that, but I will, is fair to say that, having smart, eating smart food, and by smart, what I mean by that, food that the body actually can utilize.
Yes.
None of this crazy synthetic stuff and modified stuff and everything else. And yeah, sure, it's not going to work for everyone because everybody has different things going on, different imbalances, different deficiencies, you name it. But clearly, we need the fats. And the keto diet, for one, is up there. 70% I think is fat, 25% is protein, and only 5% is carbs. Whereas, typical American diets are like almost the opposite. And I'll put this statement out there as well that, if we just remove sugar from our diet, I think a lot of medical companies would go out of business. And nothing against them, of course. I mean, everybody makes their own choice, and so thank God that they're there to allow us to make the bad choices. But it's up to us, and I'm so excited to actually be trying your product myself. And my dog.
We'll send you out some next week for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I'll just order online. That's cool. And everybody else should order that online. And you go to Buddy Custard because you watch the video and it looks really yummy. But here's my question though, and
Yes.
that is, if you're developing it for cats, are
Yes.
you developing a completely different product, or what?
No, actually, the product is almost identical, but the flavorings that we're going to make the cat so they can't resist it are different. Because cats love the taste of fish, so we're doing some work with salmon oil, in addition to the flaxseed oil, and krill oil, which is what
Right.
whales eat.
Right.
And there's a lot of studies that are showing that krill is actually the best, but it's very expensive. So what we're doing is we're doing some tests with cats on changing the flavorings, as well as Buddy Custard is also now, we're doing some experiments with the CBD infused Buddy Custard for the factor of arthritis.
Right.
And one other thing I should mention is I'm promoting Buddy Custard is that when we designed everything and our nutritional analysis had to be done by independent labs that are government-sponsored labs. We used this particular agency down in Miami, and they came back to us with a very interesting observation that that Buddy Custard naturally is producing great lactobacillus, which is a great probiotic, because cottage cheese does that. It's a fermented cheese. And the doctor that did the work, he called me up. He says, I don't know if there's a need for this in the canine business. He says, but you got something here that's really great for, people with problems with that. I said, well, thank you, that's great. So we're looking into that now about manufacturing Buddy Custard as another item and adding to our line a probiotic. And we have to make some changes. So that's why we're going to do some tests and see those changes.
But let me understand, the original product had some lactobacillus, or you're finding
No,
that...
cottage cheese naturally produces lactobacillus.
Okay, so you already have the probiotic, so you're thinking of adding...
It's already in there.
So
And to change it to make it more lactobacillus in the manufacturing process, we have to make some changes as far as the mechanisms of bringing both the flaxseed oil and the cottage cheese together. It's actually just a timing thing, meaning that you gotta let it sort of sit for a few days in refrigeration before you freeze it, and it forms the lactobacillus in the billions. And I never would have thought that, because I didn't know cottage cheese does that, and they came to us and said, you have something here, I just don't know if there's a demand for that in the dog business. They knew we're in the dog business, but there is, and that's because, it's so dumb. Dogs are always getting diarrhea. And like humans, what does a doctor tell you to do? Take some probiotics when you got that. You got to replenish the bacteria that bring the good bacteria in. And well, dogs get diarrhea all the time because they're eating a lot of food garbage that we buy in the stores, but also they're getting in under the sink, they're pulling out the garbage, they're picking up stuff from the street, they're eating everything, and they're getting diarrhea all the time. So we're going to introduce that in about 6 months. We're going to introduce a supercharged lactobacillus Buddy Custard. Right now it has it, but we'd like to get the numbers up into the billions versus into the millions. And we can do that.
You know what's interesting, and I think probiotics is so important. And for those out there, if you like numbers and statistics, this one might actually shock you. And the truth is that our body is basically composed of about 70 trillion cells. 70 trillion. It's a lot of zeros behind it. And when I heard the number of microorganisms in our bodies, I was kind of shocked. And I thought, well, if we have 70 trillion cells, well, maybe we have a couple billion sort of thing. No, try 700 trillion, so 10 times more.
That's crazy number.
It's a crazy number, and so that lends itself to the realization that maybe there's something really important about this microbiome in one particular area in our gut. And I remember I had to undergo a particular treatment and I was taking clindamycin, and I literally had to stop within about 48 hours because I had tremendous diarrhea.
Yeah.
And because it just changed the whole microbiome in my gut. And so that really tells me too, interesting enough, and that is a lot of the information that we acquire in our bodies has to do with the microbiome imbalance within our gut.
Yeah.
And the allowance, when that imbalance happens, the allowance of the gut bacteria that's not the normal one to produce all sorts of molecules that then get absorbed in the body and cause a lot of inflammation. And so
Yeah.
definitely, lactobacillus and some of the other ones, I try to eat more yogurt,
Yeah.
with all the cultures in it, and I add all my maca powder and all sorts of crap.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
actually healthy crap,
Yeah.
healthy goodness, and really makes a difference. And so it's really neat that you're doing that, and I'm kind of curious, how people are going to respond when they eat it themselves.
Yeah, and in fact, there's a physician in Virginia that has a very successful practice affiliated with the University of Virginia, and he was using the Budwig or Buddy Custard for when he was in a regular practice of telling people have this every day in these quantities for people that were having cancer and other problems, particularly cancer. He closed his practice. Now when he came to oncology, now he's just doing work on gut and on the gut. He believes that all diseases emanate from the gut, and that has to do with bacteria. And
Right.
he's still using our formulas for treat patients as well. We're pretty excited about that because for obvious reasons, and it's not that difficult for us to do and to manufacture. We essentially delay the freezing process to a point where it produces these live cultures in enough quantities.
Right.
Now we're going to test and see how much the quantity should be, and by experiments with dogs.
So you can ship this out. You can't buy in the stores. You just have to buy it online, correct?
Yeah, we're going to be going into the stores probably within about 3 to 6 months. We're speaking to some major pet chains now. Not easy to convince people to bring a product into their
Right.
stores as a new company.
Right.
And we like the business of e-commerce because people like that to buy online. And so we went in that direction.
But it has to be refrigerated, right?
We recommend that people keep it frozen, but if they're going to defrost it, they have to keep it refrigerated. And it's dairy, a good portion of it. 2/3 of the product is dairy, so we recommend that eat the whole thing within maybe 10 days or so. After that, like anything, any open container of dairy, it could turn. So,
But ideally keep it frozen.
we recommend keep it frozen. Take out what you need for your dog for the morning meal and then for the evening meal. Just let it sit for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes outside of the freezer. It softens up. It's just like ice cream. You just scoop it out, put it in the dog's food, and they'll eat that before they'll eat the dog food.
Unbelievable. It puts a whole new spin on, what are we having for dinner tonight, dear? Dog food.
Well, we're going to be careful about that because what we want to do is we're talking about in about 3 or 4 years of reintroducing Buddy Custard for humans. But we want to see what the regulatory environment is, and we want to see how the dogs are doing on longer term. And, we're just going to take our time with that for human consumption. But we have to establish an identity on its own because we don't want to say, yeah, I'm ill and I'm taking my dog food to make me feel better.
So you can say this. I mean, it's so good for dogs, it might be good for you too.
Now, if I can use that slogan, we'll try it. But it is actually the same formula.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's all yours. So, this is tremendous. We do have to wrap it up. So it's www.buddycustard.com where people can go to. They can order it online. I guess there's a monthly shipping process too. And can people reach out to you if they have any questions? How do they find you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, we have a customer service department. They can call our 800 number, and if they want to speak to me, I would love to talk to them. I am not shy.
So I know you're not much on Facebook or social media, and
that's for younger people.
Well, that might have to change because this is such a wonderful product, and hopefully with this short little interview, that'll make a difference. But then again,
well, Buddy Custard is on Facebook, which is I personally.
Oh, okay, great, perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Robert, I really want to thank you. This has been incredibly enlightening. We've got to wrap it up.
You're welcome.
I am Dr. Bart Rademaker, a prescription for your transformation. Real people, real conversations, and real success, bringing you new insights from around the globe so that you can transform your life. I want to thank you, and I'll be back next week.
Thank you.
It's time for Dr. Rademaker's prescription for transformation. Let's tap into your own authentic genius and live the life you desire.
You are now listening to
Join Dr. Rademaker for an enlightened